What is up, you guys? Welcome back to the channel. It's your girl JD here, back with another video, and today we are going to be talking about the Netflix film The 6888. So it's very rare that I talk about Netflix movies here on this channel, but I felt the need to talk about this one because it has definitely resulted in some discussion and it's been some healthy discourse, but also I think that there was a lot of room for improvement in terms of the story and what could have been produced and put out there. I think there's definitely some things that I would like to talk about there. So it is one of the newest releases from Tyler Perry. He was the director, and this came out back in December. So it's been some time, honey, okay? It currently has a 52% on Rotten Tomatoes and a 6.8 on IMDb. It's starring Kerry Washington, Ebony Obsidian, Sarah Jeffrey, Oprah Winfrey, Shanice Williams, Greg Sulkin, Susan Sarandon, and Donna Biscoe. So obviously we had some other faces in there as well, but those are kind of like the main ones that I would like to mention. Now, it is based on a true story. This is coming from World War II, around that time, and a book was also written about it by Kevin M. Hamel. So the film's write-up, if you read it over on Google, it says 855 joined the war effort to address a 3-year mail backlog. Despite discrimination and war-torn conditions, they sort over 17 million pieces of mail ahead of schedule. So that is pretty much like the overarching story. When it does come to the movie storyline, it starts off with Lena, who's played by Ebony. She comes in and we see Abram, who is kind of like her friend, but wants to be more than her friend. And her mom is kind of like iffy about it because he is like a white Jewish boy. So it was just kind of like, for the time period, I don't know about this biracial relationship here, you know? But things kind of escalate a little bit. We see that Abram now decides to join the military to join the war efforts in terms of World War II, and he becomes a pilot. However, we see that he doesn't come back. Even though he promised Lena that he would, he ends up dying, unfortunately, overseas. So Lena is now like, you know what? After I graduate high school, I'm going to the military. I'm going to join and I want to fight Hitler. That's basically what she says. I want to fight Hitler. And I'm like, girl, that's not how that works, you know? It's a communal effort to do that, you know, fight the powers that be, but it's not something that you would actually do yourself. But regardless, I appreciate her tenacity. We also see that she gets to the military, that it's definitely not sunshine and roses. She has to do a little bit of training here and there, but they're finally able to get through all of that as a group, and she does make some friends. We have Johnny May, Dolores, and a few others, but they're all trying to keep each other sane. But Lena, we see, is having these nightmares with regards to Abram and his passing, and we also see that there is a little bit of friction between the white soldiers and also this group of women. And Kerry Washington, there's a scene where she has to deal with this soldier who's disrespecting her. He's lower in rank than she is, but he refuses to treat her as such because she's a black woman. And it's all in front of these women that she is supposed to be overseeing. Johnny May, she can't really help herself. She's kind of like the loudmouth, in my opinion, in this group of women. And she kind of sticks up for Major Charity Adams. She has to kind of put Johnny May in her place a little bit. She was like, listen, I don't need you to step in. You do what I say. I will handle that situation. So Johnny May kind of learns her lesson in that way. However, shortly after that is when they get sent overseas to basically handle this whole mail situation, because we see that Oprah's character comes in to talk to Miss Eleanor Roosevelt, because a woman who had her sons basically fighting in the war, she hadn't heard from them in forever, and was like, listen, I'm gonna need y'all to do something about this mail situation. I haven't heard from them in like years at this point, so I need to know if they're still alive. So because of her, and also because of Oprah kind of chiming in, her character was Miss Mary, and she was kind of in Miss Eleanor's ear and was like, we need to do something about this, because because this is lowering morale amongst our soldiers, and also family members are trying to figure out what's happening with their loved ones, like they haven't heard anything. So now we see that Major Charity Adams and her group, 6888, they're now being sent and shipped overseas to this raggedy location, and they're just like, oh, you're gonna have to make do because we don't have anything else. So they make do, and they, go through the mail, but at the same time, they have to deal with General Halt, who kind of wanted to just see them fail. Like, he wanted to do anything and everything to make sure that they failed, and it didn't work out. However, they do eventually get the mail sent out to the appropriate receiver and also back to give responses to the sender and whatnot. So things were working out. However, there was a scene when Major Adams got emotional. She's just like, over my dead body, are you going to shut down what I'm doing? That's what she said. And she started crying a little bit in front of everybody. And I was appreciative of that scene, but at the same time, I wish they didn't have her cry. I wish she didn't cry, because I was like, dang, she looks so strong in that moment, because leading up to that time, they actually had 2 soldiers that ended up dying trying to deliver mail. But that scene was so ridiculous to me, because it was like, how do you walk past someone that's trying to tell you, don't go past me because there might be a bomb situation, and you just decide, oh, I'm gonna drive past you because I have places to go, and now you end up on this bomb, can't move out the truck, and you die because you don't want to listen. Like, what? So yeah, that's crazy. But either way, she was like, in that moment, very emotional. But at the same time, I wish she'd held strong, because that would have really sent a very distinct and deep message, in my opinion, if they had shot it without her crying. Because I felt like the tears just kind of made it a little too, like, personal. Like, obviously, it felt personal. I totally get that. But at the same time, I felt like if she had just remained so stoic, it would have been like, in your face. You know what I mean? Stick it to the man. But I wish they had shot that differently. And then after that, we see that the soldiers, they're getting their mail. Family members are getting responses. So everything seems to be a little bit more cheery surrounding the situation. So when it came to what I liked about it, I love the fact that it was a historical story, especially a Black story at that, with Black women, because we don't really get to see a lot of them outside of, like, slavery, okay? Like, for some reason, I feel like movie directors and even TV shows, they tend to just be stuck on slavery. Like, that's the moment in history when it comes to Black history in general, like, they're just stuck there. And it's just like, could we talk about something else? I feel like they try to occasionally do a few different stories here and there, but they don't get the recognition I feel like it deserves. So I feel like they put way too much attention on these movies and shows that are about slavery. It's just like, there are so many other components and things that we could talk about from Black history besides slavery, in my opinion, that nobody seems to be interested in for some reason. So I love the fact that they chose a story that was not about slavery. Let's get into what I didn't really like about it. So there were some cringy lines, which was to be expected because it's Tyler Perry, who's directing the movie, and more than likely writing the script as well, because he doesn't like getting help. Okay, that's been mentioned before. So there definitely was some cringy moments in there, especially when it came to the love story between Lena and Abram. It just was a little contrived, in my opinion, even though that did happen in real life. The way they wrote it into the movie, it just seemed a little cringe. I also think that there wasn't really enough of a focus on the main character / leader of the group, Major Charity Adams. There was a little too much of a focus placed on Lena's story. I just feel like they spent so much time building up her character, but it was like, isn't the main focus on Major Charity Adams because she was the leader of the group? She was the one that made the ish happen, you know? I think that obviously, yes, she needs like everybody that's under her to work together and get things done. But at the same time, it's like she was the face of the group. So why isn't it mainly about her? But anyway, so why is it not mainly about her? I love seeing Lena's storyline, don't get me wrong, but it was like, I needed more about Major Charity Adams. in my opinion. The direction of the overall story, they showed them sorting the mail and then some soldiers getting it, but that was kind of it. There was like so much buildup for that moment and it felt flat to me, just very anticlimactic. So I just felt like there could have been a lot more scenes, a lot more reactions, things happening and transpiring after them getting their mail, you know? And then we also had the terrible accents, the southern accents. I was like, ooh, what is this? Like, at least it sounded like it was supposed to be a southern accent, but y'all let me know if I'm incorrect on that. But the accents were all over the place. I was confused as to what I was listening to and where I was supposed to be. But yeah, so that's pretty much it for me in terms of my thoughts about the film. I would like to still see more movies like this from different time periods because, like I said, I do feel like there's like we're stuck on slavery, you know, still when it comes to films about Black history. There's so many stories that are out there to be told, and I feel like we're just stagnant for some reason. And it's just like there's so much to pick from. Why are we stagnant, you know? But let me know your thoughts on this one down in the comments. I do really love the fact that they picked this story to tell because I knew nothing about this group of women. And even though in the grand scheme of things, this might seem like a small story, it did help a lot when it came to the war effort as a whole. So it's a story that needs to be told. So I love the fact that they did this, but I think it could have been executed a lot better, which I think when it comes to Tyler Perry in general, yeah, that tends to be the going consensus. But let me know your thoughts down in the comments. I'll catch y'all in the next one. Peace.